Howdy ho, Lions fans. Welcome to the Detroit Lions Podcast, episode 319. This is the official Detroit Lions podcast for Reddit. I am your dashing host, Chris, and with me are my good friends and co-hosts, Case and Jeff, the Riz Risden. How are you gentlemen doing today?
I'm as good as my microphone, which is not working, so we'll live how we live. So.
Oh, okay. Sounds good. How about you, Riz? How you doing, brother?
I'm tired, and I'm ready to talk some Lions because I've been dealing with Browns BS all day. Not their intentional fault. It's nothing negative for the Browns. It's just the NFL has dropped the ball badly, and I'm tired of trying to pick it up for them.
Yeah, well, they'll still rely on you. I know they will. They have no one else, Riz. All right, today's show.
Yes, they might not.
We're going to do a quick review of the Vikings game. We're going to do a season wrap-up. We're going to talk about what we saw this year and what we didn't see. And we're going to do an update on the GM coaching search. We got that, a whole lot more. We got a great show lined up. Case, you ready to go, my man?
I've never been less ready.
Let's kick this off and break it down.
All right, let's get right into it. First, Lions and Vikings, two teams who played this last week, and oh my goodness, what an amazing game this was. This was a spectacular exhibition of football prowess, and anyone throw me a lifeline here?
They played.
Honestly, it was one of the more entertaining games I've seen the Lions play this year.
It was an entertaining affair. It didn't turn out the way we wanted it to, but at least we were amused along the way.
But I mean, it also didn't turn out like where anybody was crazy disappointed, I think, either, because
yeah, it wasn't like the Carolina game or the Tampa Bay game. This was a fun game, and there was no harm in losing. They were competitive.
Right.
Yeah,
I agree.
You're right, Kiss. I'm with you.
Yeah. No, I think it was an interesting game, a fun game to watch. It was we'll talk about some of the stuff that went on. I said this on the post game show. It was a moral victory, but we got the statistical outcome that we wanted as far as the draft is concerned. Now, Philadelphia is a whole nother piece of work. We saw that game, and that's that was just embarrassment. They're
gonna reap the what they sow on that. I mean, that's just the players that they have on the team. How many of them are going to trust them going forward to actually try to win? I mean, that is the risk you run when you play a game like that.
If I'm Jalen Hurts, I might ask for a trade.
Yeah,
I don't want to be the future of that franchise. You know what I mean?
You don't mess with the gods of football. Testicles will bounce back at them hard, man. Karma's going to be a bitch for Philly.
The god of football, testicles. That's good.
Right. Don't defy testicles, man. He fights back.
Oh man, that's fun. Oh, the testicles. No, never mind. Okay, so yeah, that was the game. It was a good game. They did play well. The offense, as usual, moved. Got to tell you, the offense has carried this team 100% this year. It was not the defense. We were able to break the record. We're number one at being number 32. What was the number of points final that was scored? We beat
it was yards that we surpassed.
We also set the record for points allowed by the defense because the 08 team gave up 4 pick sixes.
Yeah. It was points by a defense and points by a team. I think we broke both of those records, and the special teams one is the one that's the difference. So we are number one at being number 32.
32.
Go Lions. All right. I don't know what else I
believe it was the worst, from Football Outsiders, was the worst DVOA ever for a defense, too.
Oh, wow.
Interesting. Wow.
Man,
I did not know that.
Well,
but I'm not surprised by that.
No, we all saw it. It passes the eye test. That's for damn sure.
I was beating the crap out of Tavai in the Twitter over during the game. But I mean, so he did a Naruto run at one point. I swear to God, his arms flung out back and he started leaning forward into it, and then he was skipping. We got a sack, and I forget exactly who got the sack. It was on the head. Kirk Cousins running the outside to his left, and we sacked him on the way over. And Tavai was just doing his thing where he's standing in the mud, waiting for something to happen around him, right? And after it happens, all of a sudden, I've never seen a move like this. he just started skipping like on the field, and I'm just like, what are you doing? Like, what is going? I mean, are you looking for butterflies? What are you doing out here today, man?
Yeah, sugar plum fairy.
So like
sugar
me
plum
when I was
fairies
playing
dancing in the
t-ball, yeah, when I was a kid in outfield, I'd be sitting down, I'd be twirling in circles, I'd be picking dandelions. Yeah,
You weren't the kid that like put his glove over his face and cried at shortstop, were you?
I didn't cry.
That's good.
Because I didn't care about the game.
Oh, I had that kid on my team 2 years in a row. I'm like, can you please tell his parents to not have that kid play?
They did not put me at shortstop.
I cried once.
They put me as far away from the ball as they could possibly get me. So
I cried. I was at pitcher and I got hit with a ball right in the freaking face. That's how you get a schnoz like this. But man, it doesn't.
I actually cried. I broke a kid's face when I was pitching in 5th grade.
Ooh.
Hit him here, and I cried more than he did because he was unconscious.
We're gonna save my stories about my ultimate frisbee career for another day, but we'll get into it.
All right.
Ultimate, sweet.
It's the only sport I was ever good at.
Well, that's because you gotta get high before you do it. Let's be honest, Case.
Doesn't hurt.
All right. Let's take a look at the season as a whole real quick. This one was, in many ways, it defied expectations, and at the same time, it exactly met expectations. And what an abject disappointment. We had so many things that could point us to how bad this team was, and as well as how many things that pointed out, well, maybe they're better than that. The whole Stafford injured thing last year absolutely is you can see it this year. He's the reason we won those games, right? I mean, with Stafford's injury last year cost us at least 3 games, right?
Maybe.
If we had Chase Daniels last year, we probably would have won another game or two.
I don't know about that.
He's actually he's a much better backup than what we had going on last year.
Jeff Driscoll was weird. He was, because he didn't understand the concept of that you're running an offense. I actually thought David Blau wasn't terrible. He's certainly not NFL starting material, but he was okay.
Yeah.
With as close as some of those games were last year, I think Chase Daniel would have won us 1 or 2 more games.
He can't throw the ball 40 yards.
Well, no, but he didn't. Like I say, as close as a few of those games were last year.
Yeah,
I think he would have been enough. I think that it was. I don't really think we need to get in the mud on that situation either. But
no,
I just think he's a better backup this year than what we had last year. That's all I have to say about it, I guess. So
I don't want him back.
That's fair. But
the difference between all of them is such that you don't want anybody but Matthew Stafford on that field, and the rest of the team is so bad that without Matthew Stafford on the field, you're not going to find those wins. It's just the way.
And by the way, that's not necessarily a bad thing. Like if Mahomes goes down, they're not winning.
Sure.
If Russell Wilson goes down, they don't get a first down in Seattle. Yeah. That's one of the functions of having a top flight quarterback is that you intentionally have a crap backup. A, because you can't pay him, and B, because if you lose, it means that if you lose your quarterback, your season's over because you're built around your quarterback. And that's how you wind up, lucking into Andrew Luck when you're the Colts, or lucking into like Chase Young with Washington this year.
Yeah,
they got him. They were a much better team than they were
that defensive
because
line.
They had quarterback issues last year. Wow. And now their quarterback from last year is out on the street. Nobody's signing him, which is crazy to me.
The problem we have is just everybody that's not the quarterback. I don't want to say everybody, but the vast majority of the people that are not the quarterback are like terrible. Just terrible. And then you put
everybody, but a lot of them.
Yeah. And then you put in the horrendous play calling that we saw. And as we saw Darrell Bevel wake up when coach was gone, it was pretty, all of a sudden things started really moving. Stafford started moving the ball. The defense even played a little bit better.
That's spectacular. Wildcat in there.
Yeah, had a wildcat.
They did.
It's just oh wow, what a season, what a roller coaster. And it's funny because of how far things went off the rails after that Chicago game, that first opening game for fans. I was like, wow, this is one for the ages. People are already angry coming into the season, and then you lost to Chicago. You made Mitch Trubisky look like a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Well, the thing was, Chris, was that we had talked, and you and I were guilty of this. I think Case was too. we wanted to believe that it was going to be different with Patricia, that we were going to see something different this year. And then he goes out and does the same bleeping thing again. As my old co-host Jim Costa said, he reverted to his muscle memory, and the muscle memory sucked.
Yeah.
And from that point on, I knew the season was over.
100%.
I didn't shy away from saying that either. The fact that he did not adjust when given a chance to show that he had learned from his mistakes, that if you weren't out on the team on then, kind of shame on you, honestly.
I mean, I don't necessarily. Okay, this is gonna sound like we're. I don't want to get any revisionist history in here or anything. We wanted to believe that they could do it.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
That doesn't mean that we truly believed they could do it. We just wanted to believe that they could.
Yeah. That's a good way to say it. And your tone is exactly right. We really wanted to believe it. We wanted it so bad, because I think we grew to appreciate the coach that Patricia had become in the last 18
and there
months.
There were a few things to really like. Not all the things.
Brief
obviously.
moments of competence.
Yeah.
There were signs of growth.
The fact that he was still trying to win the 1985 NFC East,
Exactly. Yep.
It was a failed strategy, and he went down with that ship, and it's gonna sink with him for a long time.
I'm going to talk about that just so everyone knows. We're going to start some additional little bites throughout the off season into the season next year. The first one's going to drop Thursday, and I'm going to talk exactly about that 1985 scheme and how we have to avoid that, because boy, we are guilty of scheming for a decade ago far more often than we're not in these hiring decisions. And boys,
hey Chris, I have a draft one of those that I will give you shortly on that same vein.
Ooh, see, you guys, you get a little hint of what's coming your way. All right,
I'll try not to shoot it in the shower, because that's where I rehearse those things, like dry run.
I mean, it can't hurt our views.
I don't know. You haven't seen me naked
yet.
Oh man. Okay, so Case is definitely taking care of himself with that CBD. CBD.DetroitLionsPodcast.com. Use keyword Lions, get 55% off. It has all you need to help with anxiety, pain, and insomnia. All three things caused by Lions fandom. Head on over to CBD.DetroitLionsPodcast.com. Get yourself set up. I'm going to just tell you, if you're just dealing with those three items, get everything but the Delta 8 or everything but the chill line, and you'll find the relief. You'll find it. And then in the cream, it's great stuff. If you're looking for that feeling that sometimes people associate with that plant, you would definitely want to look into the Delta 8 and the chill line, as they call it. They have a new, even more potent Delta 8 setup. So CBD.DetroitLionsPodcast.com. It's legal in all 50 states, so go to town. It's good stuff. All right. Hey, William Myers, thank you so much for that super chat. That is awesome. Thanks for helping us through these difficult times. You guys touch my fandom in such a way, and look forward to next year. Thanks to you guys at DLP FTP. That's great. Thank you, William. That is really kind of you, and glad you're hanging with us, because it's we try to have fun in these difficult times. But man, just think about the one thing I always think about when I think about being a Lions fan is just wait till they start winning. How great is that going to be? I think the Browns folks have to be feeling pretty good up until the COVID news came, right, Riz? I mean, it had to be a pretty ecstatic place to be.
You know what? It was a great weekend for being. I'm from Cleveland. I don't live there anymore. I haven't lived there since 1999. But it was an exciting thing. I got texts from people that I hadn't seen in a long time. It was really, really cool. And the fact that they did it by beating Pittsburgh, that's sort of like the Lions beating the Packers to get into the playoffs on the last week.
Yep.
That's a feeling that I want for Detroit, because it was really, really cool. It was fun seeing all the disparate parts of Browns Twitter all come together and be happy at the same time for the same thing. That would be wonderful if that could happen for Detroit. And it sucks what's happened now. It's really going sideways badly. But is very encouraging for me.
Yeah,
it should be for you too.
Yeah, no, that's the one thing, the grand possibility of the Lions turning it around, and that's God,
right? Look at Buffalo's another
intoxicating.
great example.
Yeah.
That team was crap for years and years. They could win the AFC this year. I won't pick them to. They're winning at least one game, and nobody's going to want to play them the way they're playing right now. The way that their defense rolls, the way that their special teams rolls, Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs.
We got
That's a really good football team. And 2-3 years ago, when they were stuck in QB purgatory with Tyrod Taylor, nobody thought that team was going anywhere. And look where they are now.
I am absolutely calling back to you pointing some of these things out later on in the show when we talk about some of the Lions fans thinking about biases against us and that kind of thing. But so we'll get back into this later.
Okay.
Tease.
All right. Let's see. Let's talk about this. I want to play this really quick. This question. Let me play this because Riz, this came in and it's directed directly at you, and you just touched on it like a bad man against a child. Here, see if I get this. Here we go.
Hey guys, I have a quick question for the Riz. Riz, is Buffalo's quarterback Josh Allen? Did he turn out to be a little bit better than you thought he would? Keep up the good work, guys.
Is that the Riz's wrong one?
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah,
I forgot it's this one.
I as you guys know, I love when players prove me wrong that direction. I don't like being proven wrong the other direction where I think a guy is good and he winds up sucking. Anytime a guy overachieves, I like it. I like that a lot. I'm very happy for him. It was never personal with him. And one of the things that you can read this in my real GM, my final evaluation where I ranked him the 10th quarterback in that class. And I did look this up to make sure that I got it right. He was my number 10 quarterback. He was my number 11 tight end, just because he hadn't played it before. And I still think he would be an all-pro tight end, but it's working out a quarterback for him. So I don't think he needs to make that change. One of the things that I said in that, and I don't have it in front of me, and I have a new laptop, so I don't have the access on it right now, but I'll paraphrase myself. The fact that he is coachable and the fact that teammates rave about him and coaches rave about him, and I saw it at the Senior Bowl that year, like this guy's got people gravitate to. I didn't think he would be as good as he is now at all. I thought he was somewhere between Jake Locker and Logan Thomas, honestly. And he wound up being a hell of a lot better than them. And I think it's really cool that Buffalo doesn't ask him to do things that he can't do, which was one of the things, like, if you want him to be a West Coast precision passer, no. I think Brian Daboll has done a really good job of scheming for what he does well. And to Josh Allen's credit, he's gotten more accurate. And he's actually made me rethink a couple things. I do think he's an anomaly. But I also think that the fact that there are guys who play better when they're surrounded by better people. And I've seen it in other sports, specifically in volleyball, the sport that I played for forever. There are guys who wind up being much better when you put them in a deeper pool where they're playing with guys that are normally more skilled than them. And I've seen that happen. And I never really took that into account that Josh Allen could be that guy, but he has been that guy. And, you know, the fact that they have done what they've done, and they're a really good football team aside from him. And I think that helps. But yeah, he's been really good.
Do you think some of that, what's going on with Josh Allen could be described with what's happened with Trubisky the last 6-7 weeks?
Trubisky's played well, hasn't he?
Unfortunately, yes.
He did not Sunday. He was at one point. He had thrown 17 passes for 84 yards. But
there's also a question about the pass defenses he'd been playing over the stretch where he was looking good. But
yeah, they asked him to get the ball out quicker. If your first read isn't there, go to your second. And if that isn't there, throw the freaking ball away or run. A or B. Don't sit back there and hold the football.
Yeah.
That's something that Josh Allen has had. It's something that Deshaun Watson has had a problem with.
Yeah.
And it's something that they have seemed to work on pretty well with Chicago. Chicago's not going to win a playoff game, but I am happy that they got there. I think it's pretty cool.
That
I think it. For
I'm
one,
very spiteful.
That's why we love you, Case. I think it's good for the division that a second team gets in, and I think it might set them up to be more, what's the word I'm looking for? Cocksure, I guess, going into the offseason than they should be, and that can lead to some mistakes.
Sure.
Oh,
I don't know.
I hope you're right.
Me too. I hope I'm more right about that than I was Josh Allen.
All right, let's take a quick look at the there's the story this guy wrote. I don't know how much credence to give it. This is posted in Reddit by Cody Mason 84. The title is Rod Wood, Lions won't rush the GM hiring, could hire a head coach first. The author is some guy, Jeff something. I can't even pronounce it. I'm not even going to pronounce his name.
We'll screen cap that. Some bug flying around in here is bugging the hell out of me. No pun intended.
Riz, what the hell are you writing? They're not going to rush the GM hiring.
So I decided to participate in a Zoom for once. I have access to it all the time. I don't normally get in, and I did today. I paid attention, and I watched Rod Wood say that I'm going to paraphrase him here. He feels that the head coach could come, doesn't have to come, but could come before the general manager because he thinks that the competition is better or stiffer in hiring a coach. That a lot of other teams or who are searching for coaches, that seems to be where people are looking first. I don't know if that's a misread on his part or misread on Chris Billon's part or what, but it's the other way to interpret it, and I've heard this, and it came up in the Slack a little bit too, is that they know who they're getting for their GM, so they're more worried about finding the right coach. Mm-hmm. But also Rod said that it's a partnership. It's not, I don't want it to be A working for B working for A. They need to have a symbiosis. They need to have, that mental mind meld going forward.
Which we thought we had.
Well, Casey,
yes, and I was just going to say, Casey, you're exactly right. We kind of had that. We kind of just came out of that, and we're a little scarred by that. Uh-huh. But I understand what he's saying. That the fact that you have to find the guys that can work together, and that's as important as getting a good head coach and a good GM who don't get along. That would be Rick Smith and Bill O'Brien in Houston.
Let me just kind of pull, because you said I don't disagree with what you said, but I think you meant one thing a little bit different. And Case kind of alluded to it here.
It.
The mind meld. I think what they're looking for actually is exactly what you said. Two guys that can work together and, one mission, one goal, the whole thing. But they also want to be able to have a diversity of opinion, respect each other's opinion, and find the best path forward out of a variety and a diversity of thought. I think that's really what they're after, and rather than the mind meld. And I don't want to be semantic.
And that's kind of what he said. So thank you for clarifying that, because that's correct. You're exactly right.
Yeah, and I hate to bang on semantics, but I think that one is kind of important.
No, it's important to get that right. Yeah, they are looking for a team, and as you know, I'm sure everybody listening knows, when you get into a draft situation, there are going to be scouts who have disagreements with the GM on a certain player. It happened last year with Derek Brown. There were scouts in the Lions organization who did not like him. Matt Patricia loved him.
Yep.
He wound up not getting picked. They picked Jeff Okudah, who, by everything I've heard, everybody liked. Maybe those discussions that they have now will be a little more ribald and fleshed out. Back in the days when they drafted Nick Fairley, there were a lot of scouts who were like, why the hell are you doing this? And they didn't feel empowered to speak up to Martin Mayhew and or Jim Schwartz at that time. Yeah. I'm hopeful that the new regime will foster that. Like, hey, hello, wake up. This guy can't play. He doesn't want to play. I hope that they do more of that there is that openness. That's one of the things, not to diverge, but one of the reasons why John Schneider is an interesting candidate is because he and Pete Carroll don't always see the same things in the players. Yet Seattle, as terribly as they often draft, is a top-notch organization. Yep. And I think that's very appealing for a lot of people, myself included.
And the thing is Carroll has the final say on personnel there,
yes,
right?
He does. Yes,
which is why it's within the realm of possibility that we could drag their GM away, because
he wants control.
Yeah. And I'm not saying it's likely at all.
Right.
But I mean, that is why it is within the realm of possibility.
Yep.
So
Yeah, and he shot it down, but not really, but kind of, but not really.
And it's tampering period too, right? So he couldn't not really. He has to. They have to walk the right line, right? And so I think anything is just pure speculation at this point, pro or con, right? It's a great thing to think about and dream about. I really like the idea, but we have to give it some time for the realities of what they're dealing with to play out, because those fines are real, right? That's real money. So you got that. Let's see. I got a question for you. That's I'm gonna push it a little later, actually, to when we start talking about Taylor Decker. We'll get into that. Let me ask you. Here's one. This is a good one. We'll get into the officiating piece. Really, I know. Let's do head coach.
Hey, real quick, we should shout out William Myers on the super chat. Thank you.
Yeah. I did, Case, but you know what? You're right. I wanted to do it again. I really did. I literally did. No, I really did, because it was really generous of him and to do that, and I appreciate the kind words that came with it, and he deserves a double mention for sure. So
I thought we missed it.
Oh no, I'm a hawk. Okay, there we go. Okay, let's talk about head coaches now. There's a couple questions going on in the in the chat. How do you guys feel about the Iowa State head coach, Matt Campbell? Matt Campbell. What's your thoughts on Matt Campbell, Riz? I know you spend a lot of time in the college area.
I like him a lot. I like him for a couple of reasons, and one of the reasons is that he is sort of like PJ Fleck light. I will admit I like PJ Fleck. I think he's a college coach. I don't think he should be in the NFL. Mm-hmm. I don't think his shtick will work that well in the NFL. Mm-hmm. But his enthusiastic approach, his positive mindset, his exuberance, his ability to get people from different backgrounds to all come together as a family, and that's you better believe that's genuine. Mm-hmm. That is something he does a very good job of creating. Matt Campbell has done that at Toledo. He's done it at Iowa State. What do those schools have in common? They are crap football schools. They don't have any legacy at all. He has won there. He's done a great job winning there.
I should point out my parents are both ISU alums.
Yeah, go Cyclones.
Yeah, go Cyclones. Yeah,
they have a very good women's volleyball program.
They always called it Iowa Straight University because it was the most conservative college in the country at the time.
I believe it.
Case has got the Cyclones and the Jackrabbits under his hat. This is really something.
But he's done a great job of creating a winning culture where one does not exist. Does that sound like Detroit?
Sure does.
Oh, no, we're working on the fundamentals and pad level. We got this. No. I think he's an interesting call. I really like him. I just don't want to be the one to bring him up. So often college coaches can't make that leap into the pros where you go from, and we talked about this in the Slack and the Patreon Slack this week. It was a great conversation where you have full control over everything, when the players eat, when they do their homework, when they study, when these are for classes, this is football time, this is weight time. You don't get that. These are grown ass men now, right? You don't get that kind of control. Dynamic. And it's hard for a lot of guys to make that leap, as we just saw. Even coordinators who have NFL experience with one of the greatest coaches of all time have a hard time making the leap to head coach in the NFL. That's a tough call. I feel it's really difficult, actually.
I think one of the ways that you can look at it is, how do you feel about Matt Rule? He just got Carolina to 5-11 in his first year, and I'll tell you, people in Carolina love him. They're like, this guy, he did a great job. Our defense was going to be god awful, and he made them good right away. And the players played hard. They were in most games. They had a crap quarterback in Teddy Bridgewater that nobody trusts.
Right.
They didn't have Christian McCaffrey all year. They're feeling really good about their college hire. They understood that it was going to take a little bit of time. And I think if you're bringing in Matt Campbell, I think you have to realize that 2021 is probably not going to go better than 2020.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Can we as a fan base manage that? Because I don't know if Lions fans are capable of that level of
I don't know. It's tough to go back down
patience
that cycle. and it's tough to waste years. I'll go to the Browns for a second. They wasted a complete year of Myles Garrett and Baker Mayfield on their rookie contracts because Freddie Kitchens sucked, and they can't get that time back. And I would hate to have one of Matthew Stafford's remaining years wasted because we got a coach in who can't coach.
Yeah.
And that is a very real risk. And that's something that, do I know that Matt Campbell would be a great coach? No, I don't. I believe in him. I think he would be good, but there's definite risk involved there.
I'd want question. Him. He's the kind of guy I'd want on his second go in the NFL, to be honest with you. I want him to come
Pete
in.
Carroll.
Yeah. Exactly. Get a run,
or the
learn
retiring
a lot.
Jim Schwartz.
Yeah, I like Jim Schwartz so much.
Okay, so you know why he's retired? He's had 2 back surgeries. He can't stand on the sideline.
Sure.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Give him Wayne Font's cart. If I could get that thing polished up and get him back on the.
I'll get him the golf cart that Patricia left behind.
No, I don't want to see
there.
that ATV anymore. I'm back in the golf cart mode. And he has cigars in there. He can smoke along.
Blow that bad boy.
And it's got the horsepower to carry him. All right. That's terrible. That's just horrible, right? Okay. Really quick. They're asking about Urban Meyer in the chat. I don't think he's really on the radar. I personally think he's going to fail as an NFL coach. I think he's just going to absolutely crash and burn, and you're going to have health issues in a year and a half.
There's a guy who quit a great job to go be with his family, and less than 2 weeks later, he's like, "Fuck these people! I'm out of here. Give me money."
The one thing he continually does is find a group of people and say "F them" and move on. He did it in Florida. He did it to his family. He did it to Ohio State. Who's he going to do it to next?
He's a phenomenal college football coach. I will never disparage that. He is the reason why I don't root for Ohio State at all anymore. And I was at the Horseshoe when I was 2 weeks old. My parents took me to a game in 1972. I remember watching Archie Griffin play for Ohio State. Art Schlichter was my football hero. Then it was Chris Spielman. I don't root for Ohio State anymore because of Urban Meyer, because he is a lecherous individual, and I want nothing to do with him, and he has stained it everywhere. I also have a great deal of family who went to Florida. One of them played on the team for a brief time under Urban Meyer. They hate him more than I do. So I feel very strongly that Urban Meyer can go to Jacksonville and leave after 18 months when he is 9-17.
All right, that's good. I'm down with you. I agree 110%. I want to hit Joe B really quick. Thanks for the after the game therapy sessions. 5 years till we were competitive again. Absolutely, Joe. Absolutely. And on that topic, Thursday's content when it drops. Number one, I think you guys are gonna be surprised. I think you're gonna really love it. But number two, we're gonna talk about that. And I think I'll have an answer for you on that, but I'll leave it at that. A lot of guys to think about. We only got a little bit of time here left today. We got a lot of things going on that we're working on and have to go do. So I want to really quick tell you about Amazon.DetroitLionsPodcast.com. When you go spend all those holiday gift cards you got, head on over to Amazon.DetroitLionsPodcast.com. It'll take you right to the site. No funny stuff. They just give us a kickback when you do that. And it takes the money straight out of Bezos' pocket and puts it in ours. Not all of it, just a real small piece, but enough to keep him to be the richest man in the world. So there you go, Amazon.DetroitLionsPodcast.com. Thank you, everyone who uses that and supports us. Jalen, I just saw that you joined the Patreon. Thank you very, very much, man. Appreciate that. We're going to get you in the Slack chat right away, and I just want to call you out and say thanks for that. All right.
Get on that. I actually sort of live tweeted the press conference today on the Slack, which was kind of fun. It was pretty cool, actually.
Good.
It was a lot better
That's
than Twitter because everybody knows me there. And Twitter.
I promise I'll be back on the Slack as soon as the off season is in full swing. I just haven't had the energy for anything Lions other than this. So
they will suck the life out of you, Case.
Yeah,
I know. Believe me. I'm aware. This isn't my first rodeo.
Oh, you've been ridden before. Okay, moving on. Let's talk about Taylor Decker. He says he's looking to seek out Rod Wood to give his opinion on the future of the team because he invested in the Lions' future. That was posted by Chef Curry Sauce in the Reddit. There are some people making this out to be a really bad thing. Some people like, hey, it's no big deal. I'll kind of drop where I'm at, right?
Can you explain to me why it would be bad?
Well, Chris Spielman's there, and they went around Chris Spielman right to Rod Wood, and he's not even a football guy. He said himself he doesn't know anything about football. Yeah, so okay, so there we are. Now,
There's a lot of mental leap happening there.
Oh my God, people. Stop sniffing glue. Stop dropping your kids on their freaking heads. Oh my God.
They're just following the climate we live in, but
oh man, yeah. So no, look, I think that's a great move. That's a leadership move. He is completely invested in this team. He's got a long-term contract to come with this team. He obviously wants to win. He wants to win. He's passionate about winning, and he's passionate about Matthew Stafford. And I don't think he's wrong. I'll tell you that much. I think it's a good idea. I think it's good. Now, I knew that was a pretty obvious thing, but I'm going to speak to a call that we got. D called in and said he has an idea of what's going on with Chris Spielman, and I just want to put this out there for you guys to juggle a bit. Chris Spielman is kind of an undefined role. It's defined but not defined really well, right? I mean, they didn't call it the VP of football ops, right? They kind of mushed it up a little bit. What about Rod Wood is a guy who, he's in the 60s. He's not a young man. At some point, he's going to want to retire. Right. And look, as Case is getting his life sucked out of him, think if you're Rod Wood and you're dealing with this as a job every day and you can't run away from it. Right.
Yeah, he's making a lot more money than I am.
You got players knocking on your door. You got all that stuff going on. What do you think about the idea that Chris Spielman is being groomed to take over the role of Rod Wood at some point in the future? And that's the question that I pose to both of you.
Sure. I like it.
That's so. All of that stuff is so ethereal to fans. Like we don't have a firm grasp. We're
getting like
there, but
15-cent words at least once.
Pulling my syntax, stuff out.
I'll put that in my word of the day calendar.
Trying but to fans, I mean, we don't. No, we don't know how good those people are at their jobs because there's no direct, even with a coach, even with a GM, it can be difficult sometimes because there's a lot of like fortune that goes into the draft picks and free agents. Sometimes guys get hurt, that kind of thing, or they just aren't quite what you hope they would be. I mean that's pretty normal. But with beyond that, above the GM, when you get into football operations, it is so difficult for fans to really get any kind of grasp on how good, bad, or otherwise someone is. So the only thing that, obviously with the Lions having been as bad as they've been, for as long as they've been, it's real easy to say, well, they're all bad.
But go ahead. Sorry, I want to throw it to Riz here in a second. But I want you to finish. I have a question that you raised that I want.
No, I mean that I think that's the end of my point.
Okay, cool. Sorry, I didn't want to cut you short or jump in on you. So Riz, why doesn't anybody write an article about what like Rod Wood's job is? See what I did there?
That's a good shameless plug that I wrote about 2 months ago, something like that.
Yeah.
And I want to thank Ash for putting that into the Slack because it wound up answering a lot of questions for people, which was kind of cool. Lionswire.com, it's there.
Yeah, I didn't read it, so I apologize, Jeff. I do read most of your articles.
That's fine. I publish between 16 and 25 things a day. I don't expect people to read them all. I don't even read them all. My mom doesn't even read them all, and she's my biggest fan. On that, I think Chris Spielman wants to see if he likes this, honestly. Mm-hmm. Maybe he doesn't want to do this for a living. Maybe he wants to get back in the broadcast booth. I don't know. I haven't talked to him personally in 6 or 7 years. So I don't know how he feels about that. I would love for him to wind up being that because he is my Ohio State jersey. He is my football hero. I would love to have him run the team, but A, we don't know that he's good at it. B, we don't know that his heart will be in it. And C, we don't know what Rod Wood's end game is. Maybe he does want to transition back to being the family. I don't know. He's not really the consigliere, but he's sort of in that ilk for what they did. Mm-hmm. maybe he wants. I don't know. We nobody can really answer that except Rod Wood, and Rod doesn't really talk,
No.
so it's
No, he
tough to know.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. I have, and look, I don't want to short sell Spielman because I'm much in the same way. He's one of the guys I grew up with. You know, the old school Lions guys. He's one of the ones that I just absolutely love. He played hard nosed. He was like the Corey Schlesinger on the other side of the ball, right? He broke a face mask a game, just about played hard, loved his spirit,
Left everything on the field on every freaking play.
Yep. But and maybe I'm judging wrong, but when I hear him talking, I just don't know that I think I want him running the business side of the Lions organization. I just don't know that that's going to be in his wheelhouse. Again, I don't want to short sell him, and I just don't feel like.
Well, they do still have Mike Disner in there. Rod Wood still does the financial dealings, you know, the season tickets holders, the suites, the corporate partnerships and all that. So Spielman wouldn't have to do that.
Go ahead.
Maybe?
He's
no.
doing.
All I wanted to add is that no, I don't think either of you are wrong about that aspect of it. But what do I want out of somebody who's trying to make decisions for the team is not somebody who's trying to make decisions for the team for the financial benefit of the team. It's somebody who has an added incentive, who like actually has a passion for wanting good things for the team, as opposed to, you know, I think everybody goes into a job. I shouldn't say everybody, but I mean, like, a lot of people go into a job wanting good things for the company they're going to work for. But I think Chris Spielman has an added level of that I don't think you're going to find from
He's
everyone.
truly invested, right?
So exactly.
Yeah.
So like, I hope that he is good at it, because if he is good at it, that level of investment that he has emotionally on top of whatever financial, you know, he's getting is important. I mean, that passion for actually caring about what happens is important.
Yep. All right, I'm going to get to the last topic here. Last topic here. This is a question for you guys, and I think it's a fun one. It was posted in the subreddit by Mikey Swid 9, and the question is: would you rather keep Galladay or Jones Jr. and why? And I'm going to give you a second to think about it, because I want to say, hey, Don, he's not into Lions football next year, but he's going to keep the Patreon account because he appreciates what we do. Hey, appreciate that, Don. We'll see you next year. You can't after a 6-month healing period. You're back every time. I mean, I am. You're just back and you get sucked in. Okay, keep Galladay or Jones Jr. and why? And I'm going to start with you, Case, because I always start with Riz lately. I don't know why.
I have to talk briefly, and I'm gonna try to keep this as short as I can. I was more upset about the overturned touchdown than I was about the roughing the passer. The roughing the passer, while I think it's dumb, is not outside of what we've seen this year. I don't know how many people listening and how many people is in general listen to, you know, the rule changes from year to year, but that wasn't a huge surprise. You can't land on the quarterback anymore. It's just a thing. And so that sucks, especially when it's not egregious, like it was
or intentional. Like he was actually trying not to.
No, for sure.
It's kind of like a targeting call.
Dean said that. Yeah. Dean Blandino said that. You can see him trying to not do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, for sure. Absolutely. It sucks 100%. But fortunately, it wasn't in a game that mattered in terms of whether or not we made the playoffs or anything of that nature. But the reversed call on Marvin Jones touchdown in the end zone, I'm not sure I have ever seen a reversed call that made me scratch my head more. There was nothing on film, absolutely nothing on film to make me question that it was a touchdown. I am so confused by that. I understand the ball wasn't like incredibly tightly held, but even in slow-mo, there's no evidence at all that it even touched the ground at all, let alone that he didn't have control of it if it did. it was that one. That is the most bizarre thing. I really wanted Marvin to get 1,000 yards, and I knew it wasn't likely. But after the first half was done, I was like, "Holy shit, he might do it!" So, my answer to the original question is, I'd rather keep Marvin Jones at a very reasonable, like 4 to 5 million a year, than I would Kenny at an unreasonable max dollar wide receiver deal a year thing. I know Marvin's probably at the tail end of his career. That's fine. You give him 2-3 years, 4 or 5 million a year. He could still potentially hit another 1,000-yard season given what he's been able to do this year. I mean, he wasn't far off. He had 3 games over 100 yards receiving. If he doesn't have to be the focal point of the offense, he can surprise people, and that's what you really want out of a number 2, is somebody who can surprise people, take advantage of guys not really paying as close attention to him as they should, that kind of thing. I would prefer that personally. Okay.
Now, Riz, I don't think Galladay is going to be as expensive now as he was a month and a half ago to bring back next year.
Argue with that, but
what were you at on this?
Other than the Tampa Bay game, they averaged more points without Galladay than they did with him. That's something that you have to take into consideration. I think he is very much the creation of Matthew Stafford's ability to want to throw the ball into tight windows, because he did wind up with the worst separation in the NFL. And that's not a fluke. He's been in the bottom 5 3 of the 4 years that he's been in the league. He requires a very specific role in an offense that doesn't exist in a lot of offenses, and it might not exist in the next Lions offense. If they bring a West Coast guy in, like let's say Robert Saleh is the coach, and he brings in what's his name, the offensive coordinator that he would bring in from San Francisco. Kenny Galladay is pointless in a West Coast Kubiak style system, which is what they run.
Sure.
There's no room for him. This is a guy who turned down more than $17 million a year. He's not going to be happy if you're paying him less than that. He's absolutely not worth that. He is not one of the 15 best receivers in the league. I'm sorry, he's not. He's just not.
I agree.
And if you're paying him that much, that means you're not paying that's the difference between signing a edge rusher for $10 million and signing an edge rusher for $15 million.
Yeah. Can we
sign? You think you're getting bang for your buck there
instead of him?
Yeah, exactly. Yes, I would absolutely sign Romeo Okwara over him. Not even a question.
And let's also remember though with Galladay, and this is one of the things that I think folks miss with him. His agents are fighting over who's getting paid their chunk of his money right now.
He has some financial. It's not his fault.
No.
But his prior agents they're literally in court.
Yep.
At war with one another.
Yep.
Over who's getting what from him. And so you better believe he's going to try to maximize his deal. And I think that's a dangerous place to be.
I think that when Bob Quinn is your GM, you need more to stay in Detroit, and Matt Patricia's your coach. You need more to stay in Detroit than if somebody more favorable is here. Okay, so I'm not saying that we're going to get a discount on him, but with the injury, and if we get the right coach and front office combo, and he gets his agents figured out, he may come in at a pretty reasonable price. I'm not going to say it's impossible.
I wouldn't bank on that.
Right,
I'll say this: if you're paying within a $3 million range and you're choosing Kenny Galladay over Allen Robinson, you're a bleeping idiot.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, for 100%.
You take your Lions glasses off.
Yep.
Because you have been blinded. You are wrong. You are flat wrong. I'm sorry. You're just that's not to disparage Galladay,
right?
But people are making him into this thing that he is not.
Yes, he is a result of Stafford.
By and large, I don't want to say that he doesn't have skill of his own. He's a quality receiver. He is not a number 1 wide receiver in the NFL without Matthew Stafford or a quarterback of that ilk who is fearless like that. He'd be fine with Aaron Rodgers. He'd be fine with Russell Wilson. He would not be so good with a guy like Kyler Murray or Deshaun Watson or Drew Brees.
We also have Quintez Cephas, who seems like seems like a Kenny Galladay light at this moment in time. Like he can't outrun the competition, but can he go up and get,
he's a big frame.
I think that,
and again,
we need a guy like that.
You do.
We have a guy like that on the roster. I understand that he's not at the same level as Kenny yet. But I mean,
now the other question is, what do you do with your absolute dearth of talent at wide receiver and only 5 draft picks and a defense that's a complete dumpster fire? You gotta
have free agency. So I am not done with draft evaluations by any means. I haven't even started on some positions. From what I've seen, there's not a top 10 defensive player in this entire draft.
Yep.
Not one.
Yep.
So you're going offense with your first round pick at number 7.
Yep.
It could be a quarterback. I hope not. Yeah, it could be a wide receiver. That would be fantastic. It could be a lineman. I think that would be stupid, but if they're going for a reboot, I get it. So you're getting Devontae Smith, Jalen Waddle, Jamar Chase at number 7 in my world. And you're also signing a free agent or 2. You can find guys like Marvin Jones was a free agent once upon a time. Golden Tate was a free agent once upon a time. Those guys worked out pretty damn well. Danny Amendola, free agent once upon a time. Played very much better than I thought he would.
And Robinson is a kind of
credit goes to Stafford too.
Robinson is the kind of receiver that he hasn't
if the Lions
had.
have anything going for him, it's a history of finding some solid
free
agent wide receivers.
They really do. but you can find one. Plan on one, but also plan on drafting at least one.
Yeah.
And the fact that they only have 5 draft picks now, that can be changed because if you trade your second round pick, you slide back 10 picks, you get an extra 2 picks later.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't focus much on only having 5 picks at this point.
I've seen a lot of people upset about that, and that's one of those things where have you guys not paid attention to the draft the last few years and how many trades get made and
it's the first round
on
trades
top of
that
which
are the
we might be
trickiest.
trading away players we currently have before the draft. So
it's the first round. It's the first round trades that are the trickiest because they're just so damn expensive, and you mortgage so much to do anything in the top 10 picks or top 15. Picks.
Well, if somebody really wants, is it Justin Fields?
Right.
And he's available at what are we 7?
7. It could happen.
I don't want him.
I mean, what I'm saying is we could
take him, but
make bank on that. That kind of that's not an unreasonable situation.
Well, look at Carson Wentz was traded for.
That's the thing,
Deshaun
though.
Watson was traded for.
He's not going to be available. They're going to trade for him earlier. Because Justin Fields is a guy that's going to go earlier in the draft. It's not going to be for 7.
But there are 3 quarterbacks probably taken in the top 10, and if one of them's available at 7,
someone will already have traded for him. I'm telling you, the desperation for a quarterback.
I don't think you're necessarily wrong, Chris, at all. But things we've seen weirder by far. We've seen way weirder.
Agreed.
Strange things.
Mitchell Trubisky over Patrick Mahomes, and they're going to re-sign him. I hope they re-sign him. Oh God, please re-sign him. All right,
we could wind up trading for Carson Wentz. Who knows what's going on?
Yeah. All right.
Please no.
With that,
I mean,
who doesn't want that contract? It's beautiful.
All of a sudden, everybody around me would be a Lions fan because they're all Carson Wentz fans.
That's right. You've got to go Bison.
I mean, they're dominant, man. There's nothing like the Bison.
So they have an offensive lineman that we're going to need to talk about because he's probably Dylan Radins. He's probably a second round pick. He's worth.
I've heard his name a few times. I don't actually watch many Bison
can play.
games. They only played one game this year.
They did only play, and Trey Lance sucked in it.
Yeah.
Which was interesting. But
yeah. All right. With that, we're going to call it a show this week. We'll be back next week doing our thing. Thursday we'll have some stuff, and we're gonna throw sprinkle in some other surprises along the way for you guys. Stay tuned. It's going to be an awesome off season. There's so much going on. This is one of the things when we first started the podcast. Case always said I love the off season more than the regular season. I was like, I just don't get it. I like the football. I get it. God, I get it. This is fun. Maybe the football will get better, and I'll start to like this season more.
I can truly believe that we might be better next year.
Yeah. Now you. Yeah. All right, so here we go. We got a great bunch of shows coming up. Appreciate all you guys sticking with us and hanging out with us during the regular season. Again, Thursday, huge drop, And we may put something together over the weekend as well, a live podcast for you guys to hang out with, or it'll be like a game watch kind of a thing, a watch along. So we'll have that going on. All kinds of great stuff. It's exciting. It's a great place to be, or a great time to be with the Detroit Lions podcast. All right, remember, this show needs your involvement. Use the comments and subreddit to give us your feedback. And don't forget about us on Patreon, patreon.com/Detroit Lions podcast. It is the very best place to hang out with the most intelligent Lions fans or chatters in the internet, barring Case. A lot of good conversation there. Riz is there. Well, Case hasn't been there. That's all. That's all I'm alluding to. Riz is there. I'm there.
I am there.
Sandman, all the folks are there. We hang out, talk, and have a great time in the Slack. It's really worth it. All you got to do is sign up for as little as $1 a month on the Patreon to get access to that. It's awesome. There's nothing better. I'm telling you, it's the most engaged, fun, good discussion you'll find on the internet. Patreon.com/Detroit Lions podcast. Get signed up for that. We're on Twitter at DET Lions Podcast, the very best place to see Case.
With no pants on.
That's right. All right. Be sure to go to DetroitLionsPodcast.com. Subscribe to the podcast so we can pop in your ears automatically. That's how we like to do it. Thank you for tuning in. We're going to see you next time on the Detroit Lions Podcast. Remember, no pants, no toasters, no hot tubs, no problems, because we're your Detroit Lions and Reddit connection.